So, as I promised, I wanted to do some cleansing videos with herbs, and I chose kidneys and nettles first as I walked around the farm, noticing what was starting to come up. In March, nettles was the first herb, even before the grass turned green. Nettles was the first to show itself through the soil. So when I look at nature as a naturopath, I look at it saying, if like smacking me in the face and saying, hey, you know what? You got to clean your kidneys. So this is a little bit about nettles, and this is a little bit about the kidneys so that I can help you understand a bit more on a physiology. It's very basic, and hopefully you'll understand after this how to start your cleansing at the beginning of the spring, end of the winter, and hope you enjoy. So first we'll go into nettles. Some people call it stinging nettles, and there's the Latin name. And these are some of the special indications with this herb. So that there's seeds, leaf, and root. So the root is going to be active most at the very beginning of the season before you start to see the plant just coming up, and then at the very end of the season. So if you were taking the root, that's when you would want to take it more towards the end of the season. You know, if unless you aren't going to be using the plant, you know, you can take it at the very beginning of the season. You want it to have the most energy. Right now, as this picture is showing, this would be when you would want to harvest the leaf. There's a lot of energy in the leaf right now. It's young. It's got lots of good constituents to it, which are properties. And so this is a good time. And then the seed is going to be, it'll continue to grow seeds too, because I will steam distill this into a hydrosol and cut it completely down, and then it'll come back 2 or 3 times every time I cut it, maybe even more than that. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm not bothering, because you're just going to come back again. And of course, no matter how hard you try, when you're dealing with stinging nettles, you get something that, oh no, it hit my arm, and you know, it's going to sting for a day. So the seeds you'll see, because they look like little pods and there's hundreds of seeds on them. So you can go after and just harvest those, and that is a great kidney trophorestorative for degenerative kidney diseases. I'm a herbalist through David Winston, so most of this is from his work. The materia medicas that are on these plants are incredible. The leaf is great for blood, capillary, skin tonic for anemia, varicosities, and paper-like skin. And that is, you can do that as a tonic internally, and then you can also try to do a little external. But if you're using the leaf fresh, you don't want to touch the skin with it at all. But like to like with homeopathy, if you take that down to a tonic and make it into, like I do, a steam distillation tonic and use that for the skin, it's really beautiful. Same thing for as a kidney tonic for a hematuria and low-grade kidney pain. And then the root is great for benign prostatic hyperplasia. Do you know what that means? It's an enlarged prostate. For all of you who don't know what benign prostatic hyperplasia is, that is what it is. So that's the root, which is, you know, that place at the base of the plant that is going to give the plant all the energy at the beginning of the season. So that is the special indications. And then we have primary uses. So this herb is used for treating degenerative kidney disease. David Winston has some wonderful stories about using it to bring people from kidney failure into kidney, away from kidney dialysis and into functioning kidneys again. So I've been able to listen to him discuss these when I was in school with him. As all herbs, and as we were talking about with some of my physiological work with the anatomy, synergies are big. When you start to move into your further into your career, you're looking for these big layered works of your entirety of your career, and synergies is it. And the synergies of herbs are like the synergies of muscles. There's so much to know. So when you're looking at one herb, it's just to look at that one herb. But when you start to put it with other herbs, it's like this cataclysm of excitement and energy that starts to happen. So you would want to talk to an herbalist and consult with them if you want to get into understanding herbs and using them for yourself. Please don't just go out and start buying things, because that's not how these work. Just like one exercise isn't going to work for one symptom. So if you really want to get into being part of the herbal understanding with your treatment of your own self, then definitely consult with somebody so that you can use the synergies of multiple herbs for your supplementation. Nettle leaf is a nutrient-rich blood and capillary tonic, as we were talking about before. It also has been known to be effective with iron deficiencies in the blood, but it works synergistically with other herbs to treat osteoporosis and to speed the healing of bone fractures. And that's where you're going to need to go to an herbalist, right? So, okay, nettles is very high in iron, and so is clover. And so, okay, you know these, and you're not feeling great. Maybe, if you're a woman and you're menstruating, or if you're, have some illness or something and your body's really low in iron. Yeah, nettle leaf tea, maybe doing some, clover tea or something like that, getting your nutrient-rich herbs in there. However, when you're looking at osteoporosis or kidney disease or something like that, go and seek out those synergies. Like, find somebody to talk to about those synergies, because you're not going to piecemeal it together and get that same healing effect. The leaf is also a non-irritating, potassium-sparing diuretic. Of course, that's why one of the reasons why it's so useful for the kidneys, because of the kidneys' job, and that is to enhance the elimination of uric acid and other metabolic waste products, and that can be associated with arthritis, right? So you start to see the big picture here. It's synergistic for osteoporosis and the metabolic waste product associated with arthritis, and the kidneys are filtering, and so look at all of that that's going on, right? So can we say that there is a very strong connection between the kidneys and the ability to maintain the body's mineral levels so that we do not get arthritic, right? Absolutely. And we're going to look at that in a moment. So contraindications and drug interactions, just let I go over this with you, so that if you decide you're going to go out and buy 15 pounds of nettles, they're reactive with the skin, so cautious on handling the herb fresh. If you do have a plant in the backyard, you probably already know how much fun it is to hand harvest it. And do not eat the leaves raw, because they are going to do that to your throat, which can cause pain or worse. The herb is a diuretic, so if you're on medication like, I'm going to try to say these, digoxin, lanoxin, or lithium, it can increase the toxicity of these medications. So be very careful, consult your physician. And this was just something I threw in there from David Winston. There have been cases, and I don't know how many cases, of postmenopausal women saying that they went back into menstruation, or they had some type of menstruation like bleeding after taking their herb, but there was really no comment from him and no research understanding why. So it could be the mineral effect. There's so much association between calcium and copper is that female herb that really is needed for estrogen production. So that could be why. That's a guess of mine, just from my hair mineral analysis and understanding biochemistry. So it could be that that herb brought so much back to the kidneys that it actually created some, good calcium absorption. All right, so here's the kidney cleanse. So this is my simple tea cleanse. I put it up here so that you could see what I do. And for the 7 days at the beginning of spring, which we're in April right now, so you'd want to probably do this at the end of March, the beginning of April, before you see the dandelions. I steep 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried leaf in 8 ounces of water for an hour, and then I take 3 to 4 cups a day with lemon in the tea. Now, the other thing is I also dry my nettles, and I have a very strong grinder that will grind it down to a powder. And I have been handing that out to clients where I have told them you could take, a small amount of the powder and put it into a smoothie or on yogurt or something like that. If you're looking at 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried leaf, it's probably going to equivalent to 1/4 of a teaspoon of dried powder. So, you don't need much, but I've also told people to do that because it's got the, it's so fine, it would never be able to be steeped in a tea. You could also put a little bit in water and just steep it down and drink the nettle leaf with it, since it's dried. When you collect nettle leaf, the fresh nettle leaf has the sting on it, but when it starts to dry, that property starts to leave. It does take some time though. I've done this for years with nettle, and I've been told 24 hours, and then I picked the nettle up in 24 hours and it still kind of stung me. So I usually let it sit for a couple weeks before I actually start to work with it, just because, I want it to be dried. So I'll take it and put it into my dehydrator, and I'll let it sit in my dehydrator for a week or so, just to let it completely dry out, and then I start handling it. I mean, I've never had problems past maybe 3 or 4 days, but it's still, the drier it is, the easier it is to work with it. So let's look at the kidneys and kidney health. And here's a picture of the kidneys here, the bladder, the urethra. And then we're going to understand how much the filtration on the kidneys is. It's a 1/2 cup of blood every single minute. And I used to have, and I could have sat here and figured it out, but I didn't. I used to have how many gallons a year it was, which was absolutely incredible. And if you feel like nerding out right now, figuring that out, you can let me know what that was. I have it somewhere in my archives. It removes water and extra water to make urine, and that's its job throughout the entire day. And then it removes acid that's produced by cells to maintain the water, salts, and minerals like potassium, calcium, phosphorus, and sodium throughout the day. And there's what we were talking about, bone health and mineral balancing with the kidneys, and having that perfect balance. And so I'm going to go into mineral balancing right now, hair versus blood. So if all your kidneys do throughout the day is filtration and balancing, if you are getting blood work done for calcium levels, imagine that those kidneys, if that blood is coming in from the kidneys after it's being balanced, it's going to be balanced. You're always going to look great, right? So hair analysis won't allow that to happen. So when you take hair and you have either bioavailable mineral or not enough mineral, then it's going to show up like that, because it's about 3 months of average. But with blood, you have about 8 hours of information, and depending on where the blood was coming from, it's going to change constantly. So I always tell people, when it comes to understanding your minerals of your body, do hair mineral analysis, because it gives you so much more information. And now that you understand how this works with balancing, you can kind of see why I say that. It also controls your blood pressure, makes red blood cells, and keeps your bones strong. And again, there's that same old connection again. So, kidney health, bone health, and your risk factors are for chronic kidney disease are diabetes, high blood pressure, smoking, obesity, age, and medication. So, diabetes, the inability to process carbohydrates, eating better. It really is that simple. Your nutrition is going to be linked to your ability to be able to process your carbohydrates, and your kidneys are going to have to filter out all of that waste product from your body not being able to properly digest that food. So, the better you eat, the less stress you're going to put onto your kidneys. You're going to reduce your blood pressure because your kidneys aren't working as hard. So, high blood pressure creating kidney disease is almost not really the way that, I put that down because it's a risk factor and that they say, oh, it's a risk factor. But one of the reasons why you have high blood pressure is because you have kidney issues. So that is working hand in hand. So keeping your kidneys healthy should keep your blood pressure in check. Smoking, I have nothing to say about that in 2025. I grew up in 1980, so I am allowed to say that. Obesity, again, diabetes and obesity. There's your nutritional, find yourself a good nutritional person and start to work on it. Age, I guess, we could say age because your body starts to slow down and your um, ability to be able to take your minerals and vitamins and assimilate them so that you're in a really good place. And that would be age related. So as you age, you need to know that your digestive enzymes are going to be harder and harder to get working. But your kidneys are going to balance all those minerals, and those minerals are helping your digestion. So keeping the kidneys really clean is going to help your body assimilate. And then medications are medications. So you would have to look into that. But they are a risk factor for kidneys because the kidneys have to filter them out, right? And they're chemicals. No matter how you look at it, they're chemicals. And I'm certain that if you look up some of your diuretics, that they tried to take the nettle plant and they tried to chemically break it down molecularly and put it into a format that they could sell. And so, not trying to promote the herb itself because I don't need to. Nettles is very easy to grow. But, look at the simplistic idea of this and understanding, where I'm coming from with the naturopathic nature of this. So, to finish up, I wanted to go back. I want to just show you the video. This is the video. Let me just show you this.
So this is Nettles, and this started coming up about 3 weeks ago, which is why I chose the kidney cleanse first, because Nettles is a kidney tropho restorative, and the dandelions are just starting to come out now, so then we'll do a liver cleanse second.
All right. And then after you do harvest your nettles and you swat your upper arm, even though you had gloves up to the midpoint of your upper arm, and you managed to get the 2 inches of skin that are showing on your body, you can use a fresh jewelweed juice. If you don't know what jewelweed is, it's a cute little orange flower that usually grows by water. It's also great for poison ivy. Plantain leaves, which are abundant if you have a farm. You're always chasing them into your rocks. Burdock leaves, which I've actually started to see some burdock coming up, which is another great liver herb. And then chickweed is a great herb for the urinary system. And that usually comes up I see chickweed probably around June, maybe. I noticed it with the honeybees because the honeybees do love chickweed. And yellow dock is also great for it. Nettle leaf juice. So if you take the leaf itself and make it into a juice, you can put it into a blender and blend it with some water and then squeeze it out and use that. And then there's a homeopathic remedy. So that's good relief. And then it can last for the entirety of a day. So mix it up as soon as you can, or just live with the rash or the tingling sensation, which is quite fun. So do remember that when planting nettles, because we all want to have nettles someplace so that we can have it fresh, put it in a container so that you can manage it, because it sends shooters under the ground and you will have an entire field of nettles before you know what to do with it. So you can, I have it in a raised box, and so it can't go anywhere, but it has pretty much taken over the entire box. Even though I planted lavender, mint, and comfrey in there, it has taken over the entire box. So anything I want to get out of that, I am fighting the nettles. But with that said, um, there is some info for you if you want any information on herbal remedies or talk to me about consulting. There's my email address, and I have been certified from David Winston since 2020. Thank you.